Want healthier, stronger, shinier hair? Tired of products that don't work for coily or kinky hair? Meet 12 Tribes, the vegan hair care line designed for you. Our products are made with love for your gorgeous coils. We offer hair growth butters, oils, shampoos, and hairsprays. These products help your hair grow long, thick, and shiny. Imagine a hair care line that's 100% vegan and perfect for coily hair. No more guessing if it's really going to work for you. Our butters are rich and nourishing, feeding every strand. Our oils are lightweight but powerful, sealing in moisture without greasy residue. Shampoos and butters leave your hair clean and soft, never stripped. What sets us apart? Our dedication to your hair's needs. No harsh chemicals, just effective, natural ingredients. And the results speak for themselves. Start your journey to healthier, shinier hair today. Visit our Etsy shop, Lisa Crafts. Click the link in the description below. Give your hair the care it deserves. Join our satisfied customers and see the difference.
For many years when I was coming up, I used to hear how a lot of foreign countries absolutely hated US policy. And over the years, you would see, them even protesting against some of the policies and sanctions. And, Janet Yellen, she was at a hearing and she spoke and she said that all of the sanctions the US put on other nations, especially Russia, led to the decline of the US dollar. And if you remember in the beginning of the Russia Ukraine war, Russia said, Putin himself said anyone helping Ukraine, he was going to get those nations. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to come and fly planes and drop bombs. There's many ways to get a nation, and they decided to go after the US dollar, and it was what, a month or two ago, we heard how the US petrodollar was no longer going to be spent on oil. It was a 50-year deal the US had with Saudi Arabia, where all these different nations around the world paid for their oil using US dollars. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. And a lot of people, including myself, feel that the day the petrodollar was no longer going to be used was the day, technically, when the US dollar fell. And I mean, y'all, the economy is horrible. And one thing that makes me cringe is when the Democratic Party, especially Joe Biden and some other Democrats, talk about how great the economy is. It most certainly isn't. When you look at the cost of rent, the cost of housing, food, gas, travel, I mean, everything is astronomical. I don't see how you can honestly think people believe this economy is good. This economy is horrible. People are having a hard time making it. Prices have gone up, but salaries have not gone up. And people, things they used to do that were affordable, they can't do anymore. They can't. People are not spending that extra money. And I was looking at some articles a week ago, and McDonald's CEO came out and said the low income people stop coming to McDonald's because their prices have gone up so much. They won't go in there and spend their money. And they don't need that food anyway, but you know, you can just tell the signs of the time. Things have changed and people are not willing to spend that extra money like they used to. And I did a story just a few days ago on how Gen Z Many of them are moving back home. They can't make it out here and pay for, bills and pay for apartment and rent. You know what I mean? They can't make it out here anymore. And it's really no fault of their own. This economy is horrible. The inflation is horrible. And then you have all of this rent out here that's unregulated and it has spiraled out of control. And housing is just terrible. I did a story, it must have been back in April, how so many of these realtors, their agents, are now leaving and looking for other jobs because the housing market is really that bad. So I'm not shocked, and I agree with her. US put a lot of sanctions on different nations, and many have suffered because of the US policies. So Janet Yellen, and we know she's the Treasury Secretary, admits that sanctions affected the US dollar. So there are several other developing nations that also want to bring down the US dollar. They don't want to use the dollar anymore. And see, the US had global dominance because their dollars were used everywhere. And it was an agreement in place where all these different nations around the globe, if they wanted to buy their oil, they did it in petrodollars. Well, we know that deal is over. That 50-year deal is over, and it was not renewed by the US and Saudi Arabia. So, of course, it had impact on the international status of the dollar from that point on. In the short term, the position of the US dollar, they said it's stable, but it's declining. It's declining. And as long as the dollar is declining, y'all, there is no way the inflation is going to go away. And being that the petrodollar is not being used anymore, guess who they're going to pass all of that lost revenue on to? The US citizens. Yeah, it's going to be the US citizens. So she said she is concerned about the US pressing sanctions on Russia. She says she raised concerns about all the hundreds of sanctions the US was putting on Russia in the beginning of the Ukraine Russia war back in 2022. She was questioning the administration about, so many sanctions. And she said the more sanctions the US imposed on Russia and other nations, they would seek to destroy the dollar. So the Treasury Secretary revealed that sanctions led to more developing countries seeking alternative options to the US dollar. Now, when the petrodollar was discontinued, a lot of nations were talking about buying their oil in their local currency. That's what they really wanted to do. They said their money can never be elevated as long as they keep using the US dollar. So BRICS took advantage of the situation and is now on a world tour convincing developing countries to use local currencies. When the US weaponized the dollar, BRICS mobilized like minded countries to rally them to use their local currency for trade. And we heard about this, and Also the BRICS summit. I remember watching that. I believe it was August, and it was in South Africa. And, they were talking about that very thing. And I think at that time, India, or shortly after, India bought their oil in rupees for the first time. And I think they were the first nation to purchase their oil without the US dollar. So I don't think she's wrong. I really think she's right on this one. The US have been weaponizing those sanctions on nations for a very long time. And a lot of them are fed up with living under US policy. They don't want to deal with the US anymore. That's why a lot of them are saying, the hell with the US. We gonna do whatever we want. And if you think that won't get louder and louder as we move along, think again. I think the world just don't respect the US anymore. I think they did at one point in time, but not anymore. It's definitely showing. So, y'all, please tell me what you think about this story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.